Hey guys, this is Chelsea Kesson for Dangerous Christian Girl Ministries, as well as Like Stars Productions. And finally, after long last, I am picking up where we left off, and today we are going to cover the cosmological argument. What? Okay guys, so here's the sitch. I cannot cover all of the stuff that is jam-packed into this argument. I just can't do it. There is just too much stuff. I can't cover all of it, so I'm just going to kind of give you a brief rundown of stuff. I will also include links in the description, so if you want to look up the stuff yourself, you totally can. You can see where I sort of got my information or what resources I used, and I encourage you guys to use those resources. I encourage you to research this stuff for yourself and see where you stand. Do you stand on, the cosmological argument? Do you stand on a young Earth or an old Earth? And I think that's sincerely important that you figure out where you stand on this stuff, okay? Awesome. So today we're talking about the cosmological argument, and this cosmological argument, or the clam cosmological argument, goes as follows. 1. Whatever begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist, that's 2. And 3, therefore, the universe has a cause. This also goes back to Thomas Aquinas. He had his evidence for God, he had 5 different ones. This one was his evidence from motion, okay? And it's like the domino effect. At the very, very first domino will not fall over unless there's somebody pushing it over, right? There has to be an uncaused first cause. There has to be some dude at the very, very beginning, let it be. If you want to think about Malcolm in the Middle, there is that one scene in Malcolm in the Middle where Dewey sets up, he's sick or something, and he sets up all these dominoes, and Hal really wants to push over the first domino, right? But before he can, Dewey puts them all away. So Hal takes out all these dominoes, sets it all up again, and then he forgets his camera. So he goes out and he slams the door closed behind him, right? And the air shifts in the room and pushes over that first domino. So was the first cause the air change? No, the first cause was Hal slamming the door that caused the air change, that caused the first domino to fall over, which caused all of this other stuff, which caused the rest of the dominoes to fall. And then we can also talk about the expansion of the universe and what that means. That goes back to the domino effect, right? Or the butterfly effect, where it just gets more and more chaotic, things expand, right? My cousin, he's like he is a bi-marriage cousin twice removed, I think, maybe. He just received, I say just, a couple years ago, he received the Nobel Prize in Science for his work with black holes and the light going from stars to black holes and measuring, and he actually found that the universe was expanding. That's why they gave him the Nobel Prize in Science. And it's very interesting because it goes back to the second law of thermodynamics. Some people like to also think that the universe itself is an uncaused first cause. The problem with that is that the universe is expanding, it's growing old. Matter itself ages and it degrades and it rots away. So the second law of thermodynamics not only finds that the universe is expanding, but it's also cooling down. The second law of thermodynamics not only finds that the universe is expanding, but it's also cooling down. And it goes back to, okay, well, if we backtrack, if we reverse the tape, I know some of all y'all don't know what a VHS is. Let me educate y'all, okay? Back in the day, before I had, when I grew up, I had this bank. It was awesome. It was a Cadillac, it was a blue Cadillac VCR rewinder, okay? And before I had that, what you had to do was hit rewind on your TV and it would go all the way back and you'd basically watch the movie in reverse because you had to get the tape back to where it was. So if we rewound the tape all the way back to the beginning of the universe, we would find the universe a single point. So the universe itself, if it had to begin, because that's what it looks like, right? There's a point when the universe wasn't here. If it had to begin, it couldn't have been its own first cause, if that makes sense. This also goes to the fine-tuning of the universe as well. The fine-tuning of the universe, you have the anthropic principle, the 115 anthropic constants that go with that. We will get into more detail as more videos are being pushed out by moi. Immaterial causes, they don't make things, and they don't make things fine-tuned. You actually have to have something that's personal. Like an impersonal force does not create things because it's impersonal. It just lets it go and figure it out. You would not have fine-tuning of the universe. You wouldn't have anthropic constants or the anthropic principle with an impersonal force. So we do have some alternatives that don't really work. We have the steady state model. It just sort of appears that the universe is expanding because the universe is creating as it expands. Unfortunately, it hasn't been tested, it hasn't been witnessed. You know, you can't really witness it. There's been no experimental or evidential verification for it. It can't explain cosmic radiation, which I think is important that I explain that. And it has not been observed by a single person, observation, nothing. There's been no observation of it. And so many different scientists have said that there's no way that something can be created from nothing. And even with experiments, things like that, we've just never been able to do it. There actually was an experiment back in the 50s, which I think is kind of hilarious. And what they did was they tried to create life, basically. And what they did, they had a lump of mud and they electrocuted it repeatedly. They tried to imitate a lightning strike on this mud. And it failed, like, over and over and over again. There was just no way for them to create life that way. And I feel like it's the same with the cosmological argument. It says there is no way that you can take these impersonal forces, put them together, and try to somehow explain the universe that way. It just doesn't work. Impersonal forces do not create things. And if something begins to exist, something has to make it exist. Something has to create it. That's what we get with the cosmological argument. So next time we're going to go on to the other arguments. We're going to go on to the moral argument. We're going to go on to the teleological argument, which is my personal fave because then we get to talk about watches. Who doesn't like a good watch? Not me. Not me, sir. Madam person who exists. Not I. So anyway, talk to you guys later. Okay, bye! And don't forget to like us, subscribe, keep it rosé up in here, and just live the dream. Okay, bye!